Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Prime Use series of interviews with top business and technology experts. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Ashley Sawatsky, who is developer advocate at Rootly. Ashley, thank you so much for making the time to join us today. It's a great pleasure to welcome you.
Thanks for having me, Donna. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you could elaborate on your career path a little bit more, tell us more about the steps that have led you to your current position at Rootly.
Yeah, definitely. Tech is something I kind of accidentally stumbled into, I would say. A very happy accident at this point. But I really started out my career in kind of a blend between customer service roles. And then early on in my career, started working at a digital marketing agency as an assistant to our creative director of the agency. And that's when I really got interested in web design because a lot of the work that we were doing was producing websites and video content. And I had always been a little bit interested in web design. I was making my little HTML sites and all of that back in the day. And then through a mutual friend, I was referred into Disney's tech division. So that was really my first job in tech, but I worked in the guest experience side of Disney consumer products. So the part of Disney that was creating apps and video games and websites. And that's when I sort of discovered this whole tech industry. And I followed that interest to Shopify, where I also started on the customer support side of things and found my way into this newly emerging incident response team and organization where I started working a lot more closely with our reliability team and starting to understand the infrastructure and actually how the platform was built. And that led me on a whole path into this world of reliability and infrastructure and SRE that I've found myself in today.
Yeah, that's fascinating. What is it that actually drives you? Like, what is exciting for you in this incident management kind of world?
I think something that really excites me is understanding how technology actually works. Like these big platforms, this tech that we interact with every day, it felt like being in on almost a secret when you start to understand
Mhm.
that the cloud isn't actually a cloud. It's a bunch of servers in a big building. And getting to know how the internet actually works and by virtue of that, how it breaks and the impact of that. And it was just this really interesting space. I also am somebody who I've always been drawn to, I guess, the hard conversation, the can of worms, that type of problem. At Disney, I worked on that side of things, handling escalations that had kind of made it through our customer support team without being resolved. Even when I was, managing a restaurant as a front of house manager, I was the one who wanted to go to the angry table and find a way to, bring them around and make them want to come back. And so instant response is like the biggest playground ever. And I get to do that at a really large scale. The problems are always interesting and always changing.
Fantastic. Yeah, so you are not afraid of the challenging tasks, right?
No, no. I seem to, for whatever reason, constantly find myself drawn to the biggest messes.
Yeah, I got this. Yeah, so very interesting. About this. So I'd like to build our conversation around incident management and Rootly, right? What I could see, there are lots of companies that are building different tools for incident management, and some of them have been on the market for decades. Some are just like new one emerging. What is it that sets Rootly apart from the competition?
Yeah, it is really exciting as someone who's been in this space and working on the other side of incident response for a long time to see how much innovation is going on. I remember evaluating some of the tools on the market probably back in like 2018 when I was at Shopify, and there was nothing like what we're doing and what our even competition is doing now. So it's really cool to see. As far as what sets Rootly apart, I think there's a lot of things. Generally speaking, we really put a focus on the enterprise use case.
Mhm.
So we're powering incident response at some really massive organizations like NVIDIA and Cisco and LinkedIn. And when companies are at that scale, they have unique needs, not just from the feature perspective of what they actually need the tool to do, but they also have a different expectation of their relationship and their partnership that they're going to get from a vendor and the experience around support. But we also work with companies at different scales. We work with hyper-growth companies like Webflow and Simple. And so we're constantly balancing that need for simplicity and speed of implementation and ease of use while making sure we can still meet the depth of functionality that our enterprise users need. So really that enterprise focus and ability is a big part of it, but I know people always want to hear some specifics. So to touch on some specific differentiators, one thing is that we're actually the only incident response platform that runs on multiple clouds. So reliability really is our number one feature. If AWS goes down, you are still getting your page from Rootly. I don't believe there's any other incident response platform that's currently operating on a multi-cloud infrastructure like that. And we also have, on that enterprise level, some industry leading support around Terraform, around SCIM and access management, extremely granular role-based access management for those large companies who need to be very on top of exactly who can access that sensitive incident data. But probably the thing that we hear the most is around the partnership and the level of support and long-term partnership that we have with our customers.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Then actually I was checking the customers, so some of the remarkable customers, right, that you had, and like you mentioned, NVIDIA, LinkedIn, and Grammarly, Canva, and so on and so forth. So that is something that speaks volume about the quality of your tool, right? If these large enterprises actually are leveraging you for their incident management, and as you said, right, that for these companies, the user experience is ultimate value, right? They want to deliver to their customers. So that is a great example. Actually, would you be able to tell us maybe a case study, right? How your tool helped, or how specifically do you solve some issues, right, with incidents?
Yeah, definitely. So we come in throughout the entire incident response lifecycle. So that's really from that first alert, or whether it's an automated dashboard or a customer support representative letting the team know something is broken somewhere. From that moment, we allow you to assemble your team. So for most of our users, that's happening in Slack. The majority of people are interacting with Rootly primarily actually through Slack. And that's really what we do is we allow you to manage your incident end to end within Slack. So with a quick slash command, you can spin up your incident. From there, we are eliminating toil around all of the operational work behind incidents. So making sure that, who is the commander is really clearly assigned within the channel. You're tracking all of the tasks that are going on, which we actually do through emoji reactions in Slack. If you respond with, a star emoji, that task is automatically tracked. It's in Jira or wherever you manage your tasks. It's assigned to a user. It can have a due date associated with it. So as the commander, you can see, oh, this was supposed to be done 5 minutes ago. I better check in with this person who's owning it. And then we also have AI baked into the process that's helping you resolve the incident faster. So Rootly AI might identify, for example, hey, you actually had a really similar incident 2 weeks ago, and this is how it was resolved. Maybe you should try that. Or this playbook is the one that should be used when this service is impacted. So it's really helping you along. And then all the way through to the end, when you resolve that incident, it automatically prompts you to run your retrospectives. That's that post-incident learning process where you're reflecting on everything. What happened? What could have gone better? What went well? What follow-up tasks do we need to take to prevent this from happening again? And because you're putting all of that through one platform, you also get some amazing incident data that's all stored in aggregate. So you can go in and you can view things like, what were our 5 worst incidents over the past 5 months? What are our most unstable services? What teams get paged the most frequently? And so you get that long-term kind of growth and insight into the health of your organization.
And you touched on two things that I'd like to discuss. First is AI. So you mentioned that you have AI built into the processes, and AI is a huge topic right now, right? It's a big trend. And what I could see that Rootly AI utilizes artificial intelligence to achieve a 91% faster incident resolution, right? So can you actually tell us what specific features or functionalities contribute to this improvement?
Yeah, definitely. So of course, AI baked in the whole platform. If you're not building with AI at this point, you're kind of falling behind. So, what Rootly really does with the AI is it's pulling information from within the organization's Rootly instance and helping them connect all the dots of their incidents. So, for example, like I said, it might identify a similar past incident. It can also generate things that tend to be really time consuming. So, for example, there's your executives who want to stay informed. Typically, you have somebody owning that entire communication flow of writing up the executive update and making sure it's happening on a regular cadence. With Rootly AI, you can just ask it, hey, can you write an executive update, an executive summary, and update that every 30 minutes? And you have that element of your response on autopilot. It can write your customer comms, but of course, humans are always in the loop. It's not going to write that and then just go ship it on its own. It's going to write your draft. You can then review it. And, it's maybe like a couple little tweaks you might want to make and ship it instead of spending that 30 minutes going back through the channel and finding all of your updates and then turning that into a communication. And it's also really helpful as sort of like a co-pilot for responders. One of my favorite features is many people who respond to incidents will know the feeling of being thrown into an incident that is well underway. And you're like, what on earth is going on? I need to catch up. What is the progress? What do I need to do? We built this little command into AI where you can simply go @Rootly, catch me up, and it will just bring you up to speed. It provides a private message that's only visible to you. So nobody even needs to know that you were completely lost in the incident and needed a little help getting caught up. And it'll let you know what's going on, if there's any tasks assigned to you, the progress, the expected next steps, and so on. There's a lot that it does, but those are some of my favorite features that really show how it speeds things along.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. But actually, is this something really new that you have introduced to your platform, or it's been around for a while now?
Really, AI is relatively new in comparison to how long the platform has been around. So I want to say, within the past 4 or 5 months or so is when we've really been rolling out AI features quite consistently throughout the platform.
Got this. Yeah. Also, you mentioned the retrospective aspect, right? And so I was wondering if retrospective is something that is like common thing that every like tool, right, every team does, since it's the good opportunity to learn, right? What has been what went wrong, or it's something more specific to your platform, to your tool, and to your
Yeah,
approach.
that's a great question. So I would say retrospectives are generally speaking an industry best practice when it comes to the post incident process. That said, they are a bit notorious for being pushed aside or kind of a chore. They involve a lot of manual work when you're trying to put together the timeline. So, whether that actually happens consistently or not is up for debate. We actually host these regular roundtable sessions where we bring together a bunch of reliability leaders from all different companies, not necessarily just Rootly customers. And we facilitate a conversation around a central topic. And we recently ran one on retrospectives. And what we heard there is that people are sort of moving away from this idea that retrospectives are a one size fits all process. Every incident has a retrospective, and every retrospective looks the same. And what we've done within Rootly is we've actually allowed people to customize the retrospective process. So you can define what your post incident learning process looks like, for example, for a SEV0 very critical incident, as opposed to a lower priority incident. You might even say for our SEV3s, we auto skip the retro. We don't think we need it. And that's fine. It's up to an organization to decide how they want to approach that. You also might want to have a different retrospective for a security incident as opposed to an infrastructure incident. So with Rootly, you can bake that into your process, and whatever your defined process is for that incident is automatically prompted at the end of it. So it really helps people get more consistent with that retro process, actually do it when it's valuable, and also make it okay to make that decision around when it maybe isn't needed.
I believe that it can be daunting, like doing all the retrospective, but as you said, you can bake into your processes and make sure that every team is learning. So actually, I'd like to talk about the remote work influence into on your platform, right? So What were the specific challenges that you have been able to address to accommodate the remote incident response teams?
Yeah, I would say remote work and remote incident response teams are kind of just baked into our DNA as a company. Since day one, we've really put a focus on the remote team use case. And even since our inception, like the number one use case has really been managing incidents in Slack. And obviously, over the past years, the functionality and breadth of the platform has increased a lot beyond that. And it's not the sole function, but it is still probably the number one use case and the way that most of our users are interacting with Rootly. They're not in a room together like the traditional kind of war room image of an incident. They're distributed and they're working within Slack. So um, many of us at the company, like even myself, our co-founders, have been a part of remotely distributed incident response teams. And the challenges that come with that are a lot of why we actually exist. Those are the challenges that JJ and Quentin were facing when they both worked at Instacart and they were trying to manage incidents during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic when Instacart had all these crazy challenges around, how do we stop people from stockpiling toilet paper using the app? And everything was being done remotely. So that's really the challenges that the platform aims to solve. There's so many moving pieces and concurrent work streams. And when you're not in a room together, it can become so chaotic. There's the technical response, there's the customer support team trying to keep your customers updated. There might even be your comms team dealing with the press if you're large enough. So really is really addressing the friction and the toil that comes with just keeping everybody on the same page and moving towards a common goal. And JJ is our CEO and our co-founder, and Quentin is our CTO and other co-founder, and they actually work together at Instacart, and really was originally going to be an internal tool at Instacart to address those challenges. And as JJ and Quentin were really fleshing out the problem and looking at what was available on the market, they realized there's like a real need for this, and nothing that we can find is meeting that need. JJ actually mentioned a story around one of his senior leaders at the company at the time while they were trying to build this tool was like, isn't it kind of weird that we're a grocery delivery company and we're about to build this like critical infrastructure tool? Like, why is there nothing on the market for this? And JJ did some research and came back and said, you're right. And I'm going to go build it. And I'm going to take your best SRE with me. So sorry about that. But they were very supportive of it and cheer us on now.
Wow, fantastic story, right? And actually, that's something that can hear from time to time. Like people from Amazon, they have identified some problem, on the market, and they've been able to build a tool or the platform to solve that problem. That interesting is the story of the co-founders of Rootly, right? They have identified the problem, they found the solution, and actually they built a successful business. So actually, I know that last year in 2023, Rootly raised over 12 million to accelerate the product growth, right? So can you tell us what specific areas of product development have been prioritized since?
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, we are very lucky to work with some pretty incredible investors and VCs. So, Google Gradient is a great example. We work very closely with them. They were a big part of our Series A. As far as where we're investing that in the product, we are going full gas on our alerting product. So, that's really on call. This is essentially, a PagerDuty competitor. It is alerting platform that is a part of Rootly, and this has been by far our number one requested feature since we started. And this is a space that's just so overdue for innovation. I think we've seen these legacy platforms really dominate the entire space for a long time, and people are starting to really want a way that better reflects how modern teams are currently working. So with Rootly on Call, we released it into GA a few months ago, but we have a ton of really exciting features and a big roadmap ahead for it. So that's a big thing. But also when it comes to what we build, we do make sure that every development cycle, which for us, we work on weekly development cycles, we are constantly investing in just general performance and quality of life updates, things like the speed of the platform, because those are the things that really, really matter in an incident. So we're always balancing that, innovation with making sure that we're still at a really high level of performance and speed.
Yeah, definitely. So Rootly on call, that's something that I could actually see on like some blog posts and articles, right, across different sites. Can you elaborate on that? Like, so you mentioned it's something that is probably the most on the biggest demand on the market, and it competes with PagerDuty, which is a huge company, been here for ages, right? So tell us how specifically Rootly on call differentiates from other similar features on the market.
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the biggest differentiators that is immediately obvious, kind of smacks you in the face when you start using Ruli on call, is just how easy it is to use. Um, the more legacy platforms, they have a lot of functionality, but they are built for a very specific use case, typically centered around engineering teams only. So, for example, within PagerDuty, any alerts that you set up need to be attached to a service. But what we found is incident response today isn't just for engineers. There are comms teams that need to be on call. There are legal teams that want to be on call. And they're left doing all of these kind of weird workarounds and also learning a platform that really feels like it was built for engineers. It's confusing, has a lot of very specific verbiage. There's quite a learning curve to it. So with Rootly on Call, we thought, okay, ultimately, people want to know when something's broken. They want to get their phone call or their notification. And how can we make that as simple as possible so that anybody can get in there, set up a schedule, and feel confident that they're going to get a phone call when they need to get one? So when you go into the platform, it is just incredibly user friendly and easy to use. We also do work AI into on call as well. So you can create some of these more typically complex and difficult to build schedules. A good example would be like a follow the sun rotation, where you have a team that exists around the world and everybody is on call during their waking hours when the sun is out. To build that in these other platforms, it looks like a lot of making a spreadsheet and figuring out the time zones yourself. And it can be just, I've done it many times and it's like the world's worst game of Tetris. And then somebody goes on vacation or has a family emergency and all hell breaks loose. So with Rootly on Call, you can use AI to actually just build a follow the sun schedule. And you can say, here's the team, make it happen, and there you go. So it's just incredibly simple, and it's really easy and fun to use. Um, and the price point also is a pretty big differentiator for our enterprise teams. We find they typically will save about 50% just by using on call within Rootly instead of another competitor like PagerDuty. So that's always a good incentive.
Absolutely, yeah, that can be a huge differentiator, right, for companies that are looking to for a vendor, right, for
Yeah.
incident management. Yeah,
I think we
absolutely.
just also see a lot of that desire to consolidate tooling. So when you're already using Rootly for your incident management, to have it also alert feels very natural, and just it's one less tool in your stack and it keeps everything nicely consolidated, which is helpful.
Absolutely, yeah. Not to have the myriad of different tools, right? That everyone does some little bit piece on your
Yeah.
software services. Got this. So, Ashley, I would like to get your point on. So, let's imagine this situation, right? There is a company, they are looking for incident management tool and platform. Where do they start from? And so, what would be the critical kind of points that they need to pay attention to when choosing the right vendor?
Yeah, definitely. So, what I always recommend people do, and this is what I did when I was on the other side of this shopping around, is talk to all of the teams that are involved in your incident response process or should be, and really understand the actual challenges that you're dealing with. So once you have that list of all of the challenges that you're hoping for a tool to solve, then you can start getting a little bit more critical and saying, okay, what is our absolute must have functionality and what are our nice to haves? And I think it's great to go in with a list of nice to haves and to understand the difference between the two. And typically, you can create some sort of scoring system as you evaluate different tooling on the market to say, you know, which one met all of our must have needs, but also is what we want to have, is nice to have. Um, Something that we do that I think is a little bit different in the SaaS space is we've intentionally moved away from a PLG or a product led growth motion, which is very, very popular these days. It's, you go to the website, you check out the features, you insert your credit card, you get your free trial, and if you like it, you start your plan. We actually don't do that. In order to move, we do offer a free trial, but in order to move from your free trial to your paid plan, we always have a conversation with you and we always make sure that we understand what your use cases are, what your challenges are, and really help you with the implementation process so that we know that people are making the most of the tool that they're paying for and really understand that our team is here for them to help with any aspect of their incident response. And that also helps us learn a lot about our customers and what they need. So I would say look beyond just the functionality of the tool and try to understand the way that this vendor works with their customers. Is this like a vendor that you're going to sign the agreement and never hear from them again? Or do you get the sense that they're going to be there to work with you and answer the questions, whether they're technical or more just process-based questions that you might have?
Fantastic. Yeah, the customer support and the customer experience is super important. Yeah, the functionality, the price are great to have aligned right with your budget, but knowing that you will be supported and there are people behind this tool that you can raise the question and have the answers are super important. Ashley, those are great insights, and I believe many of our listeners and viewers will find it extremely insightful. Yeah, so I want to thank you for your time and for sharing your experience and your knowledge with us, and looking forward to having you back to the Prime U sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Donna. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So it's Ashley Sawatsky.
Yes, Sawatsky, that's right.
Yeah. It sounds very Polish to me, though.
Ukrainian, but it's my husband's. So,
No, really, your husband is Ukrainian.
yes, yeah, he's not from Ukraine, but his family, I guess, ancestrally is.
Fantastic. I'm Ukrainian, and actually,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was born and raised, and in Ukraine. I just like 2 years ago, I moved to Spain
Oh,
with my
cool.
family. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
awesome. Yeah, I've been told that the Sawatsky ending in an I is the Polish version and ending in a Y is the Ukrainian version.
Oh, wow. I didn't know this. Like, I know details with the Sawatsky.
Someone
Yeah.
could fact check me on that, but that's what I've been told.
I see. I got this. Great.